We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Just Some Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Mosh Rahman, and it's a pleasure to be back with you guys today. I'm working on getting some guests on this pod, some more guests for y'all, and I had a great conversation with my last guest last week. I'm looking forward to having him back on and many more guests in the future. Heading towards the end of February and the beginning of March, early Ramadan Mubarak to all my fellow brothers and sisters of Islam, and I'm excited for the month of Ramadan. We'll talk about that in a future episode. So today, I wanted to get into some insights in my career from my 12 plus years in the corporate world. Okay, so I'd love to share with you guys some insights for the business and the corporate world environment, and especially if you're whether you've never been in the corporate world or you're very new to the job world, the workforce in general, maybe recent graduate, I really think this could benefit you the most because it's things you most likely wouldn't learn unless you have been in it yourself, if you actually worked yourself. So yeah, the first thing is communication in the corporate world is completely different than anywhere else. Okay, so what I mean is, simply put, you'll be working with number one people of all backgrounds, of all nationalities, ethnicities, genders, of course, ages, upwards towards 65 or so, maybe sometimes older. And and so that's already multiple generations there. That's different cultures there, right? There's different ethnic backgrounds there, right? So that's already a big shift for many people, right? From going into the corporate world from not having been into that, and so communication, yeah, even though you're probably speaking English, it's easier for some than others, right? If you're a native English speaker or you grew up in America like myself, then English comes second nature to you, and you wouldn't have to try to communicate what you're saying correctly in English, right? If you're not born in the U.S., if English is your second or third language, many people in the corporate world are. So that makes communication a bit tougher for native English speakers, and it's a bit of a barrier. It's not end all be all, but it's could be a tad bit adjustment for those who are not used to being around people who English is not first language or they didn't grow up in an English speaking country. So that's the first thing. Um, so most communication takes place within team settings, within meetings. There's a lot of meetings in the corporate world. If you don't know, you will easily, very quickly find this out. And in meetings, right, they all have a certain cadence to the meetings, okay? They all have a certain time frame, usually about an hour each meeting, maybe sometimes shorter, 30 minutes. So it's all time based, okay? And so you have an agenda of items to discuss, and it should pertain to a certain topic, a certain project, or where your area of expertise lies, right? It should pertain to that. And so in the meetings will be a number of attendees, okay? And for example, for me, I work in tech, and my background, right? I'm a senior business analyst in the IT software industry. And so I'm the tech analyst of the project that I'm involved in, or the project that I'm working on, right? And on top of that, there are people who are software developers, there are architects, software architects, there are project owners, product owners, project managers. There's the business owners on the business side, right? Whomever the business is. For me, at the moment, it's a e-commerce based company based in who has a big presence in Europe. So there's going to be a representative on the business side, right? There's also maybe a designer or some sort. So that's an example of a team that I'm part of, and the role which I play and the role other people place, right? So in in a meeting, the goal is to go through the agenda as quickly as possible within, of course, within the time frame, the designated time frame, roughly about an hour. And your calendar would already be blocked. You would already have been invited to this long before, and you have a particular role. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there, right? Or you're a stakeholder, right? And there will be someone whose job it is to conduct the meeting or lead the meeting. Okay, so either they have an agenda that they want to cover, or there is a high priority item or high priority topic that the team will is wants to get into right then and there that will take precedence. Okay, and sometimes, many times in meetings, there might be only two people talking. There might be a couple of people talking. I just said that. There might be three or four people talking, and there might be a total of 10 plus people. Okay, that happens all the time, but it simply depends on the person's role and what the topic is regarding to, and how they impact that topic, which typically comes down to a solution based thing, right? They're trying to solve a problem, and there are certain people with their expertise matters more than other people's, which is why they're more involved. Now, communication, right? In corporate world, in corporate settings, and I don't mean saying hi to your fellow colleague next door or at the lunchroom. I mean in specific meetings that you're involved in. There is a cadence to these meetings, and the communication style is something that you just become adjusted to over time. But simply put, it can sound rude and borderline disrespectful sometimes. Okay? Now, that's not the intention. Okay? That's not the goal of this communication. The objective is to solve problems, complete tasks in a reasonable amount of time, in a designated time period, by the way. Everyone has to operate within some time period, right? That's how the world works. That's how any business operates. And so people will overtalk each other many times, okay? People will interrupt each other many times, all the time. People might not answer directly. In fact, I kind of don't expect people to answer directly anymore, because people are going to answer however they want to, but you can only ask the question, you know? And the answer may not be as simple as a yes or no or whatever, or a direct answer, but most people don't even answer directly anyway, even if you ask, unless it's a super straightforward, like black and white question, you know what I mean? Then maybe they will. So, so the first thing I would say is, uh, when you're involved in the corporate settings for the first few times, right, in the meetings, is just uh, listen in and don't chime in unless you're directly asked a question. Then obviously answer, right? But certainly chime in as least as possible in the very few first beginning part of your, whether it's your corporate job, your career, whatever. You want to learn more and listen more than you do speak. When it's your time to speak, when you're been asked a direct question, yes, answer the best you can. Will you always have an answer? No. That's okay. All right? You're only human. They're also only human. But just answer confidently the best you can. And yeah, also, will you have anxiety the first few years? Probably. Yeah, that's normal. Or especially if you're not well versed in a subject, or well informed on a topic, that's very normal, right? I myself have had anxiety many times, and I deal with that on a personal basis, and we talk about that, so I digress. But when people talk in corporate settings, if you didn't know that was a work meeting and it was just a meeting of people, it would sound rude for sure, because people will cut you off mid sentence. Oh, sorry, this guy has to talk. Oh, sorry, no, I have this question. Let me interrupt you. Da da da. It happens all the time. Not intended to be taken personally, actually, because people are just trying to accomplish a goal, and multiple people are involved and multiple voices are there, over talking is going to happen. It's just going to happen. And also, we can't ignore the fact that there's a hierarchy. Okay, there's always a corporate hierarchy, and there is someone with a higher level than you or me. you know and so that's always there. There is a hierarchy, there's a structure, and there should be a hierarchy, right? In the business world there always has been. But if it's not clear yet, the CEO is at the top, the CFO is below, vice presidents, presidents, vice presidents, and then so forth, right? That's a typical corporate structure, right? And so if you're a junior associate or a mid-level analyst or whatever, um, your ranking will be lower in the hierarchy compared to a manager or a lead or whomever, right? And that's okay. That's fine. Um, you're just there to do your job, perform your role best you can, and chime in with your knowledge and expertise towards a certain topic. That's it. Now, can that be done without interrupting, without over talking, without sounding rude? Yes. By the way, you can expect people to not have actual manners when speaking. Like, I rarely hear please or thank you or good job or whatever. I think you rarely hear that because it's kind of the expectation that you're supposed to um, have the answers or solve problems or whatever, right? Okay, fine. Um, but you can simply expect other people to interrupt you when speaking. That's fine. Let them. And the important thing is not to take it personally because they're not actually attacking you. They don't really care. They're chiming in where they see fit, and whoever the person is, and the only reason they interrupt is because in their mind they think what they have to say right then and there is more valuable and more pertinent than what you may be saying or what someone else may be saying at that time. Does that make sense? So it's not meant to be taken offensively. And don't get me wrong, I have been many times felt I got very upset with people I work with, uh, just basic lack of etiquette or manners in a setting, in a meeting setting. Which reminds me, if you're ever giving a presentation or you're ever or if you're reviewing, okay, that's the important thing. There will come a time where you might have to review your work in front of other people or maybe even a team of people, and just expect you can pretty much expect them to rip it to shreds. Now, are they doing that with the intention of hurting your feelings? No. Are they doing that because they have an agenda against you? They have a slight against you and have a personal vendetta? No. Literally, the default mindset is to actually find what's wrong in something, right? Now, I create what's called user stories as an analyst, and that simply defines a technical requirement to accomplish a technical result for a certain software, right? But it also describes kind of what the goal is and in a nice format, structured way, right? So that's pertinent to me as an analyst. And then other people, like software developers, will take that and ideally develop the software itself in the future. And it should incorporate what we described in the beginning in that story. Now, many times I would be in a meeting, and my job is to go through what and potentially either a teammate or a lead worked on in terms of describing said thing, said story. And yeah, you will hear many times, I will hear many people chime in, hey, oh, no, that's not right. Or, oh, okay, I don't understand this. Or, oh, can you repeat that? All the time. So you pretty much will have to get used to the fact that You will have to repeat yourself. You will have to clarify what you say or what you write many times. That's fine. And people will identify the mistakes. Actually, the first thing they will do is identify mistakes, especially spelling and grammar. Well, a lot of people are not too grammatically competent, if you will. I'm happy to say I am more, but the first thing people will see is a misspelled word or a typo, right? It's just easy to see when you read it. So, but it's not to be taken as I'm a failure. I suck. It's not to be taken that way. I don't care if you're Elon himself. I love Elon, big fan. If you're the world's biggest CEO of the world's biggest company, it's impossible to not make any mistakes ever, right? Especially something that someone won't catch, like a typo on an email or on an IM, maybe sending a wrong IM or misspelling a word, whatever. It's gonna happen, okay? Don't beat yourself up over it, okay? It's mistakes is gonna happen. When we had papers or assignments in school, we had errors in those papers too. Now, yes, is there spell check now where it should remove all spelling errors on papers? Yes. Do we have AI now that particularly basically writes up papers for people, which I think is kind of silly and unnecessary? Yes, we do. But that being said, you are will be drafting things in a written form. Could be email, could be a document, could be a PowerPoint presentation, or in my case in software, it could be a requirement story, right? And developers, of course, they're doing code, so code can either works or it doesn't. So just be prepared for other people in your team and other colleagues or whomever to immediately identify the thing that is wrong or any typos or errors. But just know it's not meant to hurt your feelings. It's meant to correct and have as maybe perfect isn't the right term, but have as accurate as information described as possible. Okay? That's the sole purpose of a team review or at least a peer review, okay? With someone or someone else, with the team. It's the whole purpose is to have accurate information, accurate details. That's it. So, very important, I would say. Um, it, if you're presenting a PowerPoint in front, depending on your audience, especially if it's higher level, like we're talking VP level or whatever, you can't afford to have multiple major errors, right? Especially like spelling or something obvious, right? So that definitely shouldn't. You want to minimize that. Will it happen once in a while, twice? Yes, but that's the the fixed mindset of mistake or good or mistake or failure or whatever. That's a different thing, but that's common in the corporate world. Okay, so yeah, like I said, goal is to solve specific problems based on combined team experience, and it's actually good when your team is saying, "Oh, no, it should be this way. Capture this or include this." It's like, "Okay, thank you." They're just helping you do your job because their expertise is going to help you complete your task because you're all together solving the same problems. Ideally. Now, this might not pertain to everyone. I am in software. That is my role, and that's what I work with people towards. But whomever it applies to, right? If it's a team setting, if it's people of all experiences and expertise coming together to solve a common problem or work on a common project, I imagine it's not going to be too different, right? Be similar. So don't try to not get. It's easier said than done, but try to not take offense to anything. Okay. Uh, Try to just focus on the solution. Okay. Focus on solving the thing. Focus on correcting whatever potential mistakes might be there. That's okay. Don't take it to heart. Okay. You are not a failure because you made a spelling typo. You didn't fail if you presented like one small thing wrong or one typo on a PowerPoint, uh, look at it as feedback to constantly perfect and improve your process going forward. Okay, and uh, be ready for people to interrupt you. It will happen. It's bound to happen. Okay, but it's not meant to minimize your words. It's not meant to minimize your experience, your knowledge, or anything. It's simply that someone else, maybe of a higher, uh, maybe level or expertise or something of the said project, they believe that what they need to say is way more important at the time. So let them say it. And no need to interrupt them or whatever, unless you really have to make something clear or something. So yeah, so people do factor in their hierarchy, their status, their level in the company when it comes to their voice. So yeah, if you're a CEO, you don't care if you interrupt. I mean, why would you? You're the CEO, right? You kind of started the company or built the company, so you at the end of the day, you're gonna have to say, right? They're gonna look to you to determine what is right or wrong. Now, much below the CEO level, vice president level, VP level, I said that, but let's just say in a software team level, right? There is a senior developer, there's a software architect. Basically, this person's job is the software development of an entire system. You know what I'm saying? So his words, his experience, expertise actually matters more because he understands kind of the little intricacies of the technology and how uh, the project can impact the existing systems and future systems as well, right? So a person like that will absolutely chime in and absolutely interrupt or voice their opinion any anytime and every time, right? I learned to just not speak unless I really absolutely have to. Obviously, if it's your turn to speak, speak. Hopefully, you have an answer. If you don't have an answer, just say, "I need to do take some more time to have more knowledge on this," or "I'm gonna get back to you on that." Whatever. Okay. Great answer in case you don't have a good one. But if you're speaking, someone interrupts, just be best thing to do is just be silent, let everyone speak. Eventually, they're gonna stop talking, and then if you're paying attention, you can simply reiterate. You can jump back in, try to maybe point out the idea behind what others are saying, and then go back to kind of where your focus is and continue. Okay, so that's what I would say. Um, the idea is solving problems, and it takes a team to do that, and everyone has their part. So that should be the only focus. And many times, like for me, I'm not a software developer and I certainly am not an architect. So that's outside of my scope of experience. So when it comes to that, I'm gonna have to rely on the software tech expertise, you know? So I will relay that information to them or the question in the software area to them. So that's what I would recommend is relay the questions to the experts or the people who have higher expertise and a higher level of your exact same area. I would rely on them for answers in that area in case you either don't know or you have questions on, right? Oh, and asking questions actually makes you sound smarter. Do you know that? Because uh, when you ask questions, it's then your sound basically you're paying attention. Number one, okay. By the way, I highly recommend don't keep your phone on you. Turn it off or keep it. Don't look at it. It's going to distract you. You're going to lose your train of thought. I highly recommend not to keep your phone in an important meeting. And then when you ask questions, especially when someone asks you something, that especially if they sound like, hey, you're being a little bit, a little bit rude here, or like I don't I don't understand why you're asking, especially if it sounds mean, right? So okay, can you please expand on that? Like, could you? I didn't understand. Would you say one more time? When you ask questions, or at least ask someone to expand on what they're saying, you're forcing them to clarify what they're saying, and therefore you are putting it you're in a position of like, I'm in more of driver's seat. You're not reacting to someone, you are responding. That's the way better seat to sit in. Okay, so always ask clarifying questions, and ask the other person to clarify what they mean. If the question, especially if it doesn't make sense, or you don't actually grasp it, or especially if it sounds like maybe like just straight up criticism, or maybe in a tone of maybe kind of disrespectful way or something. If you simply ask them to clarify, I bet they're going to say it in a more precise manner, and maybe in a less rude way, if it sounded like that at all, right? That usually works with me, because it's just the nature of someone in corporate setting to find the negative, or to think that this can't work or whatever, because it actually pertains to their job. Because if everything's working perfectly, then a lot of people would be out of a job. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Um, and also, yeah, like a system, there's always imperfections, right? And a expert's job is to find that and to improve it. So it's normal to find that. Um, so what else? in in the beginning of most calls is basic pleasantries and greetings. Everyone is at minimum will should do that and will do that, right? Hello, how are you? How was your day? How was your weekend? Cool. And then as soon as the meeting starts, after that, then you can expect the communication shift to be solely on the meeting, on the agenda, on the discussion points. That's it. That's where the the intertwinings of people's experience, expertise, and so forth will come into play. Um, and so, yeah, I don't have too many examples except from when in my own career of working with people. Um, and I can think of times where they say, "Hey, Mr. Rahman, Mr. Mosh, that this is not right. That's not correct, right? Or that doesn't. This is bad." They will outward say it, and it definitely is definitely said in a negative way. The immediate reaction obviously is like, that pisses me off. That's mean. Like how can you say that? Or that's insulting. Whatever, right? Maybe I don't. They may not be intending to do that, but here's the best answer. Okay, my mistake. What is the correct way to say that? Please, could you please provide some context here, or what is exactly the what is exactly wrong here? Could you please shine a light on it? Bring it back to them. Okay, bring it back to them. The second someone says this is wrong, that's wrong, this is bad, whatever, just clarify. Just ask them. Oh, okay. My apologies. Could you please expand on that? What do you mean? Or could you please share what is exactly wrong, or what is not clear? Please, for my benefit, so that I can improve this. Right. As soon as you do that, you completely shift the dynamic. You're in the driver's seat. Okay, because they think they're in driver's seat by highlighting the errors or whatever, or saying, or painting you as the person that has that doesn't capture things correctly or whatever. But see, if they cannot verbalize, or if they cannot pinpoint exactly what they find wrong, then they are actually hating, or then they are just being like, they're pretty much hating or being rude for no reason, right? And in a team setting, they're gonna have to clarify themselves. They don't have a choice, because other people are listening too, right? Now, people always there. People a lot of times people don't pay attention, and that's fine. I'm guilty of that too. But people always, you can expect people to ask you, "Could you please repeat that? I didn't hear. Sorry, I was checking another email. I was reading another message. Could you please repeat that?" Sure. Then, when you repeat it, make sure to be clear and concise. And I would try to speak slower if possible. I was just saying this, and this. Based on this issue, we're looking at this potential solution, and here's what we identified as areas of improvement, right? Whatever. And you explain, just simply repeat it slower to them. They will then grasp it. Then it's on them to have a proper answer if there is a question that involves their expertise. Okay? So, yeah, people are passive aggressive all the time. Okay, all the time. It's like, yeah, I guess this solution looks okay. Maybe it could be better. Oh, that's totally passive aggressive, right? But like, it just happens. It's just allowed because there are guidelines in the corporate world. There's obviously rules, and if you don't follow, you're not gonna have a job, or people don't follow, they're not gonna have a job, right? But there is there's no unless you straight up are cursing or yelling at someone directly, or calling someone, like, legitimately disrespecting someone, like, you can basically get us you can speak, there's like no way to police that. Does that make sense? Now, if someone does feel slighted or whatever, or disrespected, their job is to bring it up to their supervisor, superior, and it's on them to handle it, right, with other people or whomever, because it never works out if you just simply go approach someone in a corporate setting and say, hey, that was rude, or I didn't like that, or whatever, right? Because they may not change. The best thing to do, if you're actually just straight up disrespected or insulted in front of other people, bring it up with your superior, the supervisor, let them handle it. And if there's a process or whatever, if they have to get HR involved or whatever, okay. But you let your supervisor or superior handle it, okay? That's the best way to do it. But anyway, the longer you work, you just understand people communicate a certain way, and not to take it personally anyway. And when you listen more than you speak, you anyway sound, you will be in a better position, because you'll be able to respond. You'll be able to capture more better, listen, and you'll be able to ideally articulate better back what is being said and discussed. Okay. Um, Also, I there's a guy on social media. I forget his name, but I think this dude is like a CEO, or he's been in business for a long time, and he has a lot of successful principles. But simply put, if you're the last to speak in a conversation, in a meeting, your words hold more power now, right? Because if you're the first or second, uh, you kind of start the maybe you set the stage or something, and other people are chiming in. But if you're the last to speak, or if you just don't speak, and you respond accordingly based on listening and understanding different viewpoints and perspectives and dilemmas or whatever, your words just have more power. They hold more weight. And just today, I had a meeting where, like, it was just such a mess. Nobody could correctly capture what the heck people are talking about, and they can't eloquently describe what the hell they're trying to say today. I know it because it's a project I'm working on, and specifically in the one area. So I just very nicely said, "Excuse me, team, if I could please just, for the sake of understanding, if I could try to capture what we're trying to describe as the actual problem, and then describe what it could be potential solutions. Let me try to verbalize that now, so at least we're on the same page of, do we agree on what the problem is first, okay? If we agree on what the problem is, then we can define what the potential solutions can be, you know? So, but when everyone's talking this and that, the conversation just completely goes nowhere, and now no progress is being made. So, I just took it upon myself to just try to bring us back to level. Okay, someone in the meeting should do that. It should be someone's job in a team setting to bring the conversation back to the main idea, the crux, the absolute bare bones of the agenda, the topic, the subject. Okay, and I'm fortunate to at least have a bit of wherewithal on the project and the topic where I'm able to just try to bring people back and at least have a baseline. Okay, if there's not a baseline, a foundation, you're just gonna go all over the place with any particular topic, especially in software. If you're in software, so excuse me. So yeah, the best thing to do, like I said, obviously ask questions, take notes. Take notes, record if you can. Listen to recordings. The more you listen to the recordings, the better you can both grasp the concept and other people's communication styles. Learn about other people's communication styles. Try to respond yourself, but let people. I'm gonna emphasize to let everyone else talk more than you talk. 100%. The more you talk, the more words you speak, the less they have meaning, the less they have power. Does that make sense? So if 10 people talk and the last person said, "Okay, so do we agree on this approach, or is option A the best or option B better?" Now everyone's going to hold on to, "Oh, okay, which one is it?" Or hold on to those words way more than the actual conversation of the intricacies of the details of the conversation beforehand. So yeah, listen more, speak less unless you have to. Of course, sometimes you'll have to speak, and definitely let other people talk more than you, especially the more experience level. By the way, the more other people talk, the faster your meeting goes, and that's the less you have to talk. That's a win-win. Follow up, communicate. Like I mentioned, work with your superior, and the more you work closely, like one on one with colleagues, your team lead, whomever, the more you work with them one on one and kind of talk to them one on one meeting, the better you'll be prepared for a team session, a team setting. Okay, so I highly recommend one on one conversations with colleagues or superiors or any subject matter expert in your area. I would highly recommend that. And yeah, that's really big in the business world. I just can't describe it any other way, but it corporate setting communication just doesn't work outside of it. Like you wouldn't necessarily interrupt your parents when they're talking, right? Now, does it happen sometimes? Yeah. Like, do you mean to interrupt them? Probably not, but you probably would let them finish talking. um, with your friends, there's a natural flow in conversation, right? Yeah. Do you guys interrupt with each other? Yeah, but it's you're having a fun conversation, a casual conversation that's probably not leading to anything like a job or a project, right? Um, there's a natural flow to those things too, and that's not ever supposed to be taken offensively anyway. But in a corporate setting, we have to keep in mind, right? People are there to solve problems. People are there to do their job and to get compensated based on their expertise and experience level, right? And of course, their individual contributions to said project, right, or said job. So yeah, that means other people will talk. Uh, People with more expertise, people with more experience level, people with different background, people with more broken English, people who are much older and maybe can't grasp as fast, whatever. Uh, the rule of thumb is try not to take it personally when your work is at the forefront, right? When you're what you're working on or when it's being reviewed, uh, just take it as feedback to improve the thing you're working on. That's it. It's constructive feedback for you to improve your work so that it positively benefits everyone else you work with, which should ideally improve. It should help everyone, and therefore it's like they say, the rising tide raises all ships, right? So, so yeah, that's something I recommend for you guys. Corporate world communication. Let other people talk. Listen more than speak. Don't take it offensively if it sounds like it's being rude or so forth. It's not meant to be taken rudely. And if you don't know the answer to a question, say, "Let me get back to you on that." Okay. Let me follow up on that. Okay. I forgot this chick's name. There's a chick on Instagram who had the such a cool Instagram page of how to professionally say. I forgot her name, but it's like your work bestie, your remote work bestie, whomever on Instagram. This chick from Canada, and she had the absolute best content of how to professionally say things. Absolute best. So if anyone knows, you can feel free to comment and below who the heck that is. But yeah, if anyone else has any feedback of communication in the workplace or in the corporate setting, please comment below and let me know. Especially if you work in tech and software like myself, I'm sure you can relate to that. Okay, and yeah, let's see, anything else today. Um, ah, One thing is, last thing for today is, oh my God, when you're on projects, when you're doing certain jobs or you're doing working on certain projects, you will be speaking and saying certain words that you literally have never said your entire life, even a fraction of amount as you will on this particular project, right? Because you're going to be repeating project names. You're going to be repeating names of systems, of websites, of APIs, of business processes, of use cases. The same thing over and over, right? And for example, I'm working on a project that involves what's called a work site, and that's actually the terminology and the name of the project itself, as well as kind of what the outcome should be, the software. And I have never said the words worksite more in my entire life than I have the past 6+ months that I've working on it. And that's just by default, right? Because I'm working on a project that's called worksite and it's designed to improve specific technological aspects of work sites, right? So yeah, every new job, every new project, there are going to be new words that you said that you've never said before, and it's going to become part of your vernacular now. You know, um, and there's going to be, uh, there's going to be, you're always going to learn. You're always going to be saying words at a level later that you've never said even close to as much. Um, Emails, you're going to be sending, of course, a bunch of emails, and permalast email is a very commonly used phrase, right, in corporate, because you're probably going to be looking for answers and per your last email, right? So yeah, vocabulary will change, people you work with, right, will change, the work you're doing, will evolve and change a little bit. um, but yeah, be ready to start repeating and learning words that you've never ever said in your entire life up until that point ever. It's just how it's gonna be, right? If you're working on, I mean, practically, right? Before Facebook, how many people said wall? Right on my wall, or how many people said poke? Or face. Obviously, Facebook, that word itself. I bet almost no one ever said the word Facebook before Facebook. No one said the word Instagram before Instagram. Now it's a verb and a noun, right? Um, just you name it, right? iPhones, never said before. Now everyone says it, right? So Tesla, that was just a famous inventor in the 18th or 19th century, Nikola Tesla. Unless you read history, you would never have said his name nearly as much. Now everyone knows who the heck that is thanks to one man who launched the EV company, right? Tesla. So now it's just part of our vernacular. Everyone knows what the heck Tesla is, right? But you never ever once, most likely never once said that word or even thought about it before the advent of EV cars and electric cars and Teslas today, right? So there's a million real world examples, but just in the corporate world, just be ready for that. So with that, I am done for tonight's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked this episode, please hit the like button, share, comment, and subscribe for more. If you work in corporate, I know some of my followers do. Please share any insights that you have from the corporate world, especially with communication, how you handle things, and conflict resolution is very important in corporate world, right? And in world in general. And that's something I'd love to hear. How do you handle conflicts in the corporate world? How do you handle different communication styles? Please comment below. Let me know for more. But with that, we are done for tonight. Signing off. And just remember, as always, all we're talking about is just some perspective. Peace.